The subject that I want to share with you today, brothers and sisters, is entitled Messed Up by Religion. Messed up by religion. I came to this subject as a result of the struggle, as our sister announced earlier, for the liberation of the minds of our people. Let me preface this message with an excerpt of my testimony, a little bit of it, so you can see where I am. And I honor those of you who are visiting with us today. Thank you for coming and being with us. Having grown up in the church all my life, and I do mean all my life, I was a church kid, a product of churchianity. Did y'all hear what I just said? A product of churchianity. I became drilled, versed, trained in all of the dogmas of the Christian faith. For those of you who do not know, and I don't say this to boast, but just to let you know, I hold 5 degrees in their program. According to them, I met their qualifications and their standards and passed all their tests and submitted all the papers and modules that I'm supposed to submit. I was trained as a good boy. I was trained to train you and what the oppressor gave to us. One of the things that I like to share with people is this, in the sense of reasoning. Those who stole us from our motherland, put chains around our necks, raped our women, castrated our men, cut off the feet of those who refused to be a slave so that they couldn't run. They gave us a belief system. Now we'll die to defend the belief system that they who hated us gave us. Something in your mentality ought to say, whatever my enemy gives me is not for my good. But what happened is, generations later, being born into the program, being raised into it, we developed a love for what we didn't even understand. They, and when I say they, I mean the powers that be, came up with a word called theology. What is theology? It comes from 2 words. Theos, meaning God. Ology, meaning the study of. Look at the person nearest you and say, you cannot study God. Now, for a person to think that they can study God means that they don't understand who and what God is. That's right. Let me get even deeper than that, even on that premise. Let me define for you in this kind of a way. Theology is the science which has as its object incomprehensible things.
Yes, sir.
Brother Ray, what do you mean by incomprehensible? I mean you can't comprehend it. Now think about it. I want to take my time and just deal with this very slow so that your mind can work with me here today. Because see, growing up in church, I didn't have to use my mind. Y'all hear what I'm saying? You know, and the presentation of the message was in such a way to it was designed to whereas I didn't use my mind. You know, because the presentation got into and the only thing I had to do in church was say yes. The presentation was in such a manner that people sang to me instead of taught me. Now I understand that one of the reasons for the sing-song presentation is because of a lack of substantial data. When there's a lack of substantial data, you have to present your message, your viewpoint, your ideas in a way to whereas the mind won't turn you off. In fact, you have to present it in such a way as where the mind doesn't have anything to do with it at all. And yet at the same time, even though our minds were not a part of the learning process, we were trained, not educated, trained into what's called religion. Theology is the science which has for its object incomprehensible things. Unlike everything else, theology, the study of God, that was, and by the way, I want you to understand, that is not something that we did. Theology is not something that comes from African people. Africans knew you don't try to study the Almighty. Africans knew that nobody was qualified to tell you how the Almighty thought. Africans knew millennia ago that nobody is qualified to tell you how the Almighty is going to act or respond to a thing. Who dares know that? But religion makes it so. Unlike everything else, theology occupies itself with things that you can't see. Y'all with me? Notice what I said. It occupies itself with what cannot be seen. It occupies itself with what cannot be verified. It occupies itself with what cannot be substantiated. Yes, sir. Yes. In this realm of theology or religion, whether it's Judaism, notice I pronounce it with a Y sound, that's the proper pronunciation. We call it Judaism, but there was no J until the 16th century on this planet. You understand? So the proper pronunciation would be Judaism. If it's Judaism, if it's Christianity, if it's Islam, if it's Buddhism, if it's Zoroastrianism, if it's Hinduism, whatever it is, if it's Quetzalcoatlism, if it's Zoroastrianism, I'm naming all of the religions here, okay? See, a lot of people, look at the person next to you and say, if you only know one, you know none. You don't even have a right to speak if you don't know the others. And then that which we think we know was programmed into us when we were 2.5 years old. Before we were even old enough to understand the propriety of the matter.